Disturbing scenes on our streets, triggering calls to the WAVE troubleshooters alleging patient dumping by local hospitals. Two different $2 million plus patient dumping jury verdicts recently in Kentucky caught our eye. But what really got our attention was where calls to our newsroom led us when we began following up on the complaints. This story begins December 1st at 5 p.m. with a phone call to our newsroom from a horrified University Hospital employee claiming security had just wheeled a woman all the way out to the corner of Hancock and Ali, just off hospital property, dumped the elderly woman out of the wheelchair on the sidewalk, and left. Minutes later, we shot video of her, still in a soiled hospital gown and slippers, breathing hard under a blanket placed over her in 36-degree weather, her stuff in a bag next to her. The employee claimed she sees this a lot. So I started watching, and on December 16th at 7 p.m., 35 degrees outside, I record 3 security guards surrounding an elderly woman with a walker, slowly escorting her out of the emergency room. She can't move fast. It takes several minutes to make it all the way to the same corner of Hancock and Ali. After they have her across the street, off the hospital property, the security guards turn around and go back. When they clear, I catch up to her, and she says she can't breathe.
They told me that I couldn't stay on the premises. Amen.
Were you in there as a patient?
Well, I needed to be a patient because I'm sick.
What's wrong with you?
I've got COPD. I got diabetes.
So they wouldn't even treat you?
The doctor talked to me for 1 minute.
And they told you what?
That I had to leave.
What reason did he give you?
He didn't give me a reason.
She tells me she's homeless.
I've got to go because I'm hurting. I'm in pain.
I was in a car crash, and it completely shattered my hip and pelvis. Right here, I got like 30-something screwed.
Matthew Hauber and his mother claim a similar story. They met us in front of Wayside Mission in the spot where they say he was dumped in October.
Anywhere, and they said, well, we can't find a rehab right now.
Linda Hauber said when Norton Hospital told her they had a room lined up for Matthew at Wayside, she checked it out.
I called Wayside Christian Mission and just to confirm, and they said no. They said we can't do that. We can't. You know, they have beds and they help them find jobs and stuff, but we don't take medically needy people. We don't do that. And
then she says she had a conference call with the hospital staff.
The social worker said we're going to take him to a shelter, and I said which one? And they said Wayside Christian Mission. And I said, well, I know that's not true because I called them and they don't take him. And then the lady said, the social worker said, well, that's history. Let's think of something else.
Hauber says the next day, her son was unloaded from a transport vehicle on the curb in the rain on Jackson Street in front of Wayside.
I thought they've dumped my garbage I have to put out to the curb. That's how they dumped my son, like garbage.
Linda Hauber said she was in no shape to care for him at home, and she died after this interview.
They put all their stuff on the sidewalk over there, or they dump them off over here on the sidewalk and get back in that vehicle and get out here just as fast as they can.
Wayside staffer Perry Lane helped Matthew out of the rain and says he witnesses the same kind of thing dozens of times per year from hospitals as far away as eastern Kentucky. He says they're often lied to about the medical treatment they'll receive at the shelter.
What's the worst physical shape you've seen somebody in who was dumped? This guy here was pretty bad.
Paralyzed. People that can't walk, that are totally relied on a wheelchair. Take them out, put them in the wheelchair, throw all their stuff on the and take off.
Wayside's Chief Operating Officer Nina Mosley tells me it's not uncommon. She says they're not trained medically, and sometimes they take patients right back to the hospitals.
How can you dump people? These are human beings. How can you just dump them and leave them? It doesn't make any sense to me. It's unhuman, man.
We detailed these incidents with dates and times to both Norton and University hospitals. Norton Healthcare Senior Vice President Renee Murphy responded in an email that says, in order to safeguard the privacy of patients and in compliance with HIPAA, we are not permitted to discuss specifics regarding a patient's case. There are several details to this case that may not have been communicated to you by the family. As Mr. Hauber has not signed a HIPAA release of information form, we will not be able to share those details with you. University Hospital Public Relations Director David MacArthur replied, "They appear to be working on behalf of U of L Hospital. Unfortunately, the images that were provided by WAVE do not reveal enough information to track down additional details or identify whether the individuals on either day sought care from any of our team." What is heartbreaking for U of L Health staff is that we often encounter situations where patients need assistance beyond medical care. As the community's safety net hospital, the challenges are particularly even more acute when providing health care to the unhoused population of Metro Louisville. Community resources are limited, and even when they are available, many individuals that may benefit from those resources still refuse assistance. The Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, known as EMTALA, was passed in 1986 as a federal anti-dumping law. It mandates patients who present to a hospital emergency department must undergo an appropriate medical screening examination by a physician to determine whether they have an emergency medical condition. If they do, they must be stabilized and treated, and an appropriate transfer may take place to another facility with adequate capabilities.
Juries take the hospital's obligations to treat emergency patients very, very seriously.
Attorney Hans Poppy knows that firsthand. He won a $2.3 million patient dumping verdict, most of that in punitive damages, after his client, who was coming to a Lexington hospital by ambulance with a cardiac emergency, was turned away and directed to another hospital.
Juries don't like to punish hospitals.
There aren't many verdicts in Kentucky history favoring plaintiffs in alleged patient dumping cases, but this one is interesting. A $1.5 million verdict awarded in Fayette County to a difficult patient with a history of ER visits, dumped by a hospital, rolled outside in a wheelchair with taxi fare, and hours later, the man was dead of an untreated ulcer. After being reversed on appeal, another jury socked the hospital for $1.45 million.
So what that tells us is if a jury hears a case and they believe that there has been an EMTALA violation where a patient has been dumped or abandoned by the hospital, they really get upset.
Dude, like, I'm worthless, man. We're throwaway. We're garbage, you know?
Now, I was contacted this week by a police officer who worked off-duty at University Hospital who says she emailed U of L Health CEO Tom Miller on March 1st about this issue and what she was witnessing, and she says she was then informed she would no longer be working there. I asked U of L about that. They say the officer was concerned about the same things they are, and they're collaborating to increase community resources for the at-risk populations. As for being let go after her email, U of L would only say that she was employed by a third-party security service. I'm John Bull with Wave News. Hey, don't jump over the fence. 26th and Madison.
We do drugs. We don't sell drugs.
27th and Slevin.
I want to ask you about this drug operation that's running here on this house.
I don't know about no drugs, man.
25th and Slevin.
We're doing a story on this being a drug house right here.
I don't know about no drug house, man.
4th and Oak. Neighbors taking photos while I'm recording video of heroin and crack rocks being bagged up and distributed to long lines of paying customers, just like all the other places. And the same frustration from neighbors who called police before calling me.
The police are not doing anything. They say it's not a priority right now under the current administration. So.
When we asked outgoing Louisville Police Chief Erica Shields why people complaining of drug dealing houses terrorizing their neighborhoods were being told to stop calling, this is what she said.
If you were going after drugs, you may get Breonna Taylor. Breonna Taylor did nothing. There was nothing in her apartment that was illegal. There's a much greater risk that you're assuming, and it's not always with the best of consequences. And it's not to say you can't make impactful drug arrests, but you also can't overstate the significance of what a drug arrest means.
Since January, when Chief Shields stepped down, the same complaints have not slowed down to me about drug houses and related shootings, like this one. 4106 West Broadway, multiple incidents of drug activity, gang activity, and gun violence on a daily basis. I'm contacting the governor and Kentucky State Police, asking they intervene on an emergency basis due to the Louisville police not doing their sworn duty. When I start watching 4106 West Broadway, I record a flurry of people coming and going every hour and more hand-to-hand exchanges than I have time to show you. But the alleged drug activity isn't confined to 4106. It's everywhere around 41st and Broadway. A sea of hand-to-hand exchanges all hours of the day. Walk-ups, drive-ups, bike-ups, and no hiccups until one night, 1 hour after I stop recording, the bullets fly again. This is unbelievable, the homeowner messaged me. My house was shot and occupants nearly killed. Bullets hit cars and houses. Several of my residents were nearly shot. This is the second time bullets have hit my house. This is an outrage. But no one else appears outraged in the days that follow because nothing changes. Same activity every time I watch, while children walk by and buses unload kids right in the middle of it. So I come out from undercover with a security team and approach the house.
Hi, I'm John Bull with Wave News.
Yeah.
We are following up on complaints about this house and others, but specifically this house, about it being a drug house.
Nah.
Do you know anything about that?
Nah.
You live here?
Yes. This ain't no drug house.
Portions of tied-off plastic baggie wrapping litters the ground.
Now, I've been sitting back and watching and seeing a lot of people coming and going, and it looks like a lot of...
The truth. It's not no drug house. I'm a veteran. I live here.
Okay.
I know. I've been living here longer than he has. You go next door or somewhere else with that, man. For real.
I noticed a lot of it in the neighborhood, too.
Yeah, it's always in the West End.
We asked the new Louisville police chief if her administration is still refusing to deal with drug-dealing houses.
We know that having a drug house in your neighborhood, it impacts your quality of life. We take that very serious, but how we address it makes the difference. And so with that, we did launch the narcotics hotline earlier part of this year, but also too, we have our impact teams within the division. How we go about addressing those narcotic houses makes the difference.
Then I get a complaint that says a group of guys are selling drugs every day in front of the apartments at 1026 South 4th. One with a pistol in his pocket with an extended clip. Kind of brazen. Sure enough, when I start watching that spot, it's exactly as described. Guys hanging out for hours, hand-to-hand exchanges, and this guy pretending he's firing a gun while it appears he has a gun under his shirt protruding up from his waistband, and he keeps checking it. I notice another guy carrying around a navy blue fanny pack. Later that same evening, police are dispatched to 1026 4th on a trouble run involving multiple African-American males armed with handguns, pointing them at vehicles and bystanders. One still holding the handgun in front of his waistband. He fled on foot, tossed a loaded Smith & Wesson 9mm. Officers caught him with a navy blue fanny pack in which officers recovered multiple different narcotics, all wrapped in small plastic bags. Andrew Johnson was charged with possession of opiates, meth, fleeing police, and disorderly conduct. The officer noted subject's actions caused alarm and nuisance to multiple innocent bystanders. The same thing residents have been complaining about, and the same thing the new chief vows to tackle.
Every child within Louisville should have a right to be able to play in their backyard as well as their front yard without being impacted by criminal activity. That's our job, but doing it the right way because it makes a difference.
Now, another reason former Chief Shields cited for not going after drug houses is what happens after they do. She said, quote, they're going to walk right out the back door of the jail. Well, we just checked, and Andrew Johnson is already out of jail.